even in spite of the sense of competition, in spite of the intimidation of the camera, in spite of everything else, that it really pays to be yourself. That when there is everything is kind of stirring around you, just stop, sit, and just take a second. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. LolaAjisafe here. What are we doing today? We're doing Ready to Love Potomac. This is season 5, but we know this is already season 6, but they're calling it season 5, episode 2. Now today it's called Blind Dates. Housekeeping rules: don't forget to like the video, guys. Don't forget thumbs up, appreciate it. Thank you so much. The algorithm helps when they see the likes. It kind of puts the video into circulation. And of course, as always, I almost want to say most importantly, drop a word, a monologue, a word, a phrase, your thoughts, your comments, what you think, both on what I might have said, what your opinion is. It's exchange of ideas here. I read everything. And then last of all, if you haven't subscribed, and it's now 2022, and you won't stop shacking up with me, hit the subscribe button. So be subscribed to subscribed. All right, so let's get into it. So as usual, they always have the season brunch. That's usually the second episode. They all get together, they have lunch, they kind of mix and mingle, and they have some kind of idea like, yo, this is real now. We get kicked off if we're not liked enough. So Tiffany's kind of nursing her wounds and kind of thinking like, yo, how could I get kicked off? She now discusses, she gets back into business. She knows what she's here for. One of her interests that caught her eye prior episode was the young man Wiley, the 32-year-old, who was like, I'm a jock, I'm not a jock, but I want me to look like a jock, feel sorry for me, kind of. That's one of her love interests, and so she wants to go over there and create an opinion. And of course, as usual, I don't want to joke around and say like the producers did this, but as usual, as Tiffany and Wiley getting to know each other, Dakia comes in, sits down. I guess she does ask like, oh, can I sit down, blah blah blah, and immediately I don't know. The question is, was she fed this information? Did she know this? So we all know Chuck Brown. Like, I'm not in DC, but we know Chuck Brown. He's the godfather of go-go music. Dun, 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 dun. Uncle Luke is in the footsteps of Chuck Brown. All right, so we go through that. And immediately she says, you're familiar. Oh, I mean, he might be popular in that area. I don't know. She's like, familiar, you Chuck Brown's son. He never led with that. And that he gets some points. Like it wasn't about his dad, it was about him. And I think a lot of children who come from well-known parents typically want to make a mark on their own. So he grudgingly admits he's not ashamed of his father, but it's not something he wants to lead with. Okay, all right, young man, you got a good start. So yeah, I don't know if Dakia is starstruck, or she's just acknowledging that, look, you're Chuck Brown's son. Anyway, now getting into it, Uncle Tommy, Nephew Tommy, Nephew Tommy, no, stop now. Nephew Tommy comes in and he begins to tell them, okay, so now they've got 6 and 6, but now they're going to introduce 2 more people. But what they're going to do is set them up with blind dates first. And I think what they're trying to do with this is almost, I don't know if they want to see if this will work better, because remember last season when they introduced both, it was Sean and Sydney, social butterfly, she was able to hit the ground running. Sean, not so much. He's more reserved, just kind of. So it felt, at least what the report was, it felt like connections had already been made and they got thrown into the mix. And so he kind of never really got his footing. So shortly after that, I don't know, it was an episode, 2 episodes later, he was eliminated. So I guess they almost want to prevent that from happening because first of all, they're literally introducing the couple, the next 2 people, the new people, almost immediately, and then they're also kind of setting them up in a date. And like, okay, you know what? Let's set them up with a date first. I guess they're just all these, what he called them, curveballs. I don't know. Let's, Nephew Tommy, let's see if these curveballs are working. So anyway, what he decides to pick out Ace as the woman who's going to meet up with the new gentleman, and he picks out Laverne, who's going to meet up with the new woman. Now, if I remember correctly, last week they had put Ace as a job description philanthropist. And I had said that I want to know more about this lady because philanthropist is not a job description, so to say. This week, they got her job description as yoga instructor. I don't know, okay, yoga instructor is a job description, so I'm going to live with that. She loves yoga. I don't know if she teaches yoga. I don't remember, but let's keep this rolling. So he picks Ace, and I think what he picks Ace, the reason why he picked Ace was, she definitely has this soft, calm energy. So I guess the assumption is should be more welcoming to whoever the new person is, just kind of give them a nice welcoming. And then of course he said it outright that he picked Laverne because Laverne has no problem speaking. He's like, yo, my bruh, G, like let the lady speak, let her finish what she's saying before you jump in. Like, listen, you ask a question, don't keep going, wait for the answer. That's a great tip. I don't know if everybody did land on that, because you will find, other than speed dating scenarios where some people can literally run the conversation by themselves, all you need to put is like a ooh and an ah in it. So if Laverne, and I did say Laverne was kind of one of my peoples, like, I wait and see. Hopefully he's going to learn how to listen. Or maybe sometimes people who have no issues speaking, sometimes when they get nervous, they just kind of chatter. That might be it. So there's, it's still the beginning. We don't really know anyone. Because, last week I didn't really have an impression of Ace. Now I'm like, oh, okay, she's a yoga instructor. Oh, I see.
Very sure and confident in the man that you are. And I really feel like you are like the man's man. I like that. I feel that energy. It's that, I didn't want to say it as the BDE, but you're giving it to me right now. For those of you that don't know what BDE is, it's big energy. You fill in the blank.
I'm sure of myself.
So one of the clips at the luncheon that I just feel like I need to bring up was when my good sister Kia was talking with Demetrius. He's one of their favorites, the young man, with the beard gang, was in the military. Last week he was in an eggplant suit, very composed. He has good carriage and sits well and speaks well and look like he think well too. So he's got like check, check, check. And then my good sis, it's good to joke around, but let me say what she said. So her phrase was like, he look and he walk and he act like he got, BD energy. Like, all of y'all listening know what BD energy is. I don't need to tell you what BD energy is. It's a good thing to say amongst girlfriends, but when you're going into a scenario and you don't really know the person, you don't want to take the energy in that direction. There's nothing wrong with it, but depending on who it is and how they think, and because, little things, anything can happen in this scenario, BD energy may not be something I might lead with, like, 12 hours into the new experience. But yeah, she's saying he smiles and he like something, I don't know how his response, he just smiles it off and lets it be. Like, one, on his side, he could let it go. It could be nothing. On the other side, he could also use that to judge her. And it really isn't a big thing, but when you go into a scenario where everything you do is judged, and sometimes you don't get a second opportunity to make an impression or, to flesh out the impression, particularly when they sit down and they're in these like little deliberations, you might not want to lead with those kind of, sassy comments. Now, in the real world, it might be okay. It all depends on the person, but I was like, oh, BD energy, okay. But that's the side. Let's see if it comes up again, or if it doesn't, it was just like a fun conversation. Because at the same time, it is important to have fun. So let's see. So the luncheon is winding down. Everyone's kind of dissipating. And then they throw Clifton and Joy. So apparently Clifton not had an opportunity to sit with his, his lady friend Joy. Because from last week, he had said that he felt his strongest connection was with Joy. So even though they're leaving and she's about to leave, he's like, nah, sis, sit. I want to talk. She's like, I don't think she said the cameras because you don't want to break the fourth wall, but she's like, everybody's leaving. It's like, everybody can leave. They can do what they want. I haven't had an opportunity to have a word with you. I like that. Like, you know what you want and you go for it. That's what I mean. Like, I did say Clifton was one of my favorites, and I was Claire. Claire, that's a nice Claire move. Like, he knows what he wants and he went for what he wants. Forget everybody else. It's me and you. Like, that. Joy couldn't but feel, nice about that. Like, he's making that effort. I like that too. Check for Clifton. Looking at this is just episode 2. These are all assumptions. Look like Clifton should, because Clifton should make it to the final. That's how I feel like. Now this is BD energy, but that's just between us. We're friends. This is family talk, so we can talk about that. So going into the first blind date, Laverne meets up with Common. So we know she's 43 years old. She's 43 years old. To his, how old is Laverne? Laverne, I want to say Oh, okay, fair. So Laverne is 44, Carmen's 43. They both have a divorce behind them. They have that in common. They have children in common. Laverne has 2 daughters. She has a son. Dare I say, RTL is now getting some, counselors and like pastors and little, people to try and match people up appropriately. I don't know. I'm just guessing right now, but at least this looks like, because when you first meet someone, it's good to have a few things in common to get the conversation going. So, she comes up, CEO of some kind of, she does, what does she do again? Anyway, she does something with, working with athletes. She says that keeps her busy, hasn't had time to really date. I think what struck me when she sat down, because at first I thought it was her mascara or like the eyeliner, like this electric blue. And it looked like she's wearing blue contacts. Yo, like blue contacts been out. Like, I'm not here to judge, but I just don't know. They're like the colored contacts. I guess it's still a thing. I didn't know it was still a thing, but apparently it's still a thing. So, but it threw me off. So I don't know how I feel about the blue contacts. So, but just go and bring it up until later on. If I see it too much, and then we'll talk about it again. But for now, she's wearing blue contacts. It's very, yeah, that's all I can remember. So anyway, things that they have in common. Apparently they're both in the Air Force. Nice. That is a big experience that they definitely can share and kind of break things over. And for the whole date, they appear to have like a nice playful banter. That at one point she gets to touch the peaches. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I guess it was part of the playful banter. I guess they were talking about working out. So she said she worked 5 days a week. Sis, like, you killing it, because I just got back into the gym maybe 2 minutes ago, or maybe I've gone twice. But on my defense, there was a snowstorm here, okay? So I couldn't make it to the gym. You can hear the guilty conscience. And then for him, he said he beat him. Like, I raised you. I work out 6 times a week. So if you start listening, it's like check, 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 check. Did RTL really put some work into pairing them up? I think so. Because already they have a few things on my hand. I can already tell you all the things that they have in common. So I guess the workout conversation led to like, okay, yeah, he's built, because he was talking about how she's curvy and just this, she's thick, this, that. So they seem to, they appear to have a pleasant, fun date. Because I think a blind date in front of cameras could go south. It could be very awkward, but it didn't appear to look awkward at all. They seemed to just hit the ground running, so it seemed nice. Let's see how this goes. It's early days yet, so Laverne's coming out of there like, yo, she's coming up my leaderboard. Like, she's coming dead on my board. Like, I like her. Let's see how that goes. Next blind date, Ace meets up with Teddy Bear. He trying to steal Clifton's teddy bear title. No, sir, not gonna happen. Cornelius. Now, we had another Cornelius last season, but we're not going to judge every Cornelius we meet, so I'm just gonna start afresh. So we have a Cornelius is 41, real estate agent, mogul, maybe he has his broker's license, I don't know, but he's into real estate, and he says something about millions, like, you get a million, it's not much. I don't know if he's trying to tell us he's made a mill, or he's just trying to talk about a mill. But I'm just going to let him be. I'm just, because sometimes you get nervous when you get that introductory thing. So we don't know. I don't know that much about him, but we know it's real estate and he knows something about a mill. 1 milli. I don't know. But going into it, so he appears to be tall, but definitely a husky fellow. And, the thing is, I like the beginning of the conversation. So they start talking, and so, Ace, I guess in her bid to make him feel comfortable, she's laying on thick. She's telling him like, oh, it's like his size. He'll make her feel safe. He'll give her a hug. So anyway, he gets warmed up. He's flattered by, he's flattered by her comments and in the encouragement. So they start talking about what they like. And so I know in his piece, he had talked about, going into therapy, advocacy for, mental health. That's good. And I think the relevance of this and the importance of this, and it's great that it is a black man who otherwise would be, one of the guys sitting in a bar with a beer, might make fun of people. This is the kind of guy who is advocating for mental health. I think that's a great thing, because yeah, it's 2022. More people, particularly us people of, chocolate persuasion, are accepting and embracing therapy, but there's still a lot to be done. There's still, because he did say something that struck me. He says, just some, living, particularly, I think, just as a black person, he said, living in America today alone, sometimes you need somewhere to process the PTSD you get from just walking around being black sometimes. Like, we've come off, the riots of, what was it? The pandemic, was it? That was 22, yeah. It was last year, George Floyd. Like, so coming off that and just seeing a man be murdered in front of people, not just in a dark alley, in front of people, just because of the color of his skin, there's still an amount of PTSD that's attached to it, because we still walk around, we joke about it, we make light of it, but we still walk around with fear. We talk about driving while black, walking while black, working while black. Like, as a black person in your job, you need to almost do twice as much to be acknowledged and considered, an equal. This is not something we don't even talk about anymore, because it's a given. And so that's why we have the code switching, like, hey, G, but, you straight to, yeah, all these things we go through. But yeah, so back to the point, he's now talking about how, therapy for him works. Now, I would like to put a disclaimer that your therapy really is only as good as the therapist and how much you're willing to do the work. You always hear people say, do the work, do the work, do the work. There is work to be done, because it's not just sitting in a chair and talking, it's actually processing those thoughts and then going back after that session to either do some homework, write, and process what you found out sitting in that chair. It's not just, I have this appointment once a week in a chair. If you're not doing the work, you won't really get the growth from it. And if you don't really have a therapist that can really help you maneuver that journey, then you may not get what you need to get out of the therapy. So that's the disclaimer I want to put there, because just showing up for therapy doesn't automatically declare or say that you're going to be healed from whatever trauma that you recognize that you need to process. So going on to that. So and then, he starts talking about mental health, and she says, and that's Ace. So she says that, for her, what helps her mental health is, meditation and yoga. And I have to agree with my sis. Like, I don't know if I said it before. I don't remember if I have. Like, at different times, yoga and meditation have really just helped me process and get through some humps. Of course, true to human nature, I didn't keep up with it, but I'm in a point now where it's like, okay, let me hit back. And of course, this does not go in isolation. I'm a Christian, so there's prayer too. But yeah, definitely those two tools definitely help me maneuver certain things. So yeah, I can definitely see how she can advocate. So it seems like they have a nice understanding. They exchange the digits, and then she walk off. It's like, I hate to see you leave, but I would love to watch you go kind of scenario. And she's walking off. So that looks like another great exchange. Now, does this look like the RTL crew put some work into pairing them up? Looks like they did something. It's working. I'm like, okay, all right, check. So we show, I guess, another solo date comes. This is up between Paul, PO, parole officer. Sorry, not parole officer, post office. I deliver. Let's see what he delivered, because he hasn't delivered much for us yet. So Paul and Joy, the singer, I like her, the long hair, and just like that. She's sassy and she's interesting with some wit. So they meet up, and, Paul actually remembers, I think, what I don't know when they got talking about what her favorite drink was, which was something about vodka, soda with a splash of lime, and he remembered, and she was impressed. And it's good to see that after a conversation with someone, they were actually listening and they're actually able to process and apply some of the things you said. That means showing that you're paying attention is half the battle. Because some people just show up just to show up. Like, okay, I'm showing up, but I'm waiting for the third stage. Like, I'm waiting to get to third base, but he actually was listening. So points for him, but still, Paul, I still have you in reserve, because I don't know. Let's see how this goes. But anyway, they appear to have an okay conversation. So anyway, Joyce does say in her confessional that, Clifton is still her favorite, but I love that everyone, things always change. I love that everyone is acknowledging up front that they don't want to place all their eggs in one basket. That's the key. Like, you don't have to be rude. You don't have to tongue lock everyone, but you need to definitely not have your eggs all in one basket. And I'm hoping that this is, and I suppose producers or everyone's, don't put your eggs in one basket, don't put your eggs in one, everyone's telling them this, and they're also repeating this, but let's see how well they apply this. So anyway, Joy is acknowledging, okay, well, it was an okay time. Yes, Clifton is her favorite, but she understands that she still needs to, mill around. So she's doing that. And in the strength of that, then Dakia and Clifton meet up, and straight off the top, he does acknowledge that he also is acknowledging that joy is still his first and top connection, but he knows that he needs to mill around. So they get talking, and so and there's no, you don't dictate as to what. So their first conversation, they're talking about, and actually I guess it's an important conversation, because really for relationships, I think for, when you talk about, looking at how a relationship is built on, of course it's communication, sex, finances. I'm talking about a relationship, not like a one night stand or like friends with benefits. So of course they get to the sex conversation. He's like, how do you feel about premarital sex? You celibate, you abstinent, you waiting for Jesus to come, like you're sexual. No, I'm adding my part to it. And so she's she's like, yeah, I'm okay with it. He's like so they both confirm that they would like to test the merchandise before they buy it. As long as, I think the way I see it is different strokes for different folks, but as long as you both agree on those important things, you both agree on how you're approaching sex, you both agree on how finances will split, divided, done, how it'll be done, you both have an understanding and an ability to communicate, then you go find different types of relationships. But as long as those two people agree, then they can make it to the finish line. I think that's it. There's never just one way. So yeah, and we might see other contestants here in this show. Remember, it's a game show. Other contestants in this show may feel differently. Other contestants in past shows have felt differently. But as long as the two people agree on how they want to approach it, then it's a win-win. So they both agree, they're down for testing the merchandise before they buy it. Okay, cool. And so it really seems like they really had a nice, sassy, spicy date. Like they had a nice, back and forth. So next we have like a group date. I think it was Paul, Cornelius, it was Tiff, Sabrina, and Joy. So we have 3 women and 2 men, and they have like table tennis in some kind of place, and they start playing, and they want to play girls against boys. I guess. Oh, of note, it seemed like Joy like red. She come in another red number, but this time it's a short red number. All right, sis. Really, that's all I have to come with that. I mean, when they did they started splitting up. So initially, I think Paul pulled Joy to the side just to get to know her. And I think this is the second time I'm hearing that people, their sense of Paul is that he's guarded. He's not vulnerable yet. He's not opened up. He appears to just be more or less testing and questioning the other person, but we haven't had any revelation or opening up of himself other than his little, dry jokes about, delivering. And yeah, and that, and I think that's why I say I don't have an opinion of Paul yet, because he hasn't revealed who he is. We know he's a gentleman. How old is Paul? Paul is 48. So we know he's an older gentleman. We know he's been through some things. He's probably had some heartbreak. Is that why he has the wall up? But he has to understand that, if he has his wall up, he's not really going to attract. He's not going to really attract everyone. So it seems like everyone is reserved. No one has, I won't say, some people may have a negative interaction with him, but nobody has like a great positive interaction because he hasn't opened up. The wall is still up. That's what I'm hearing. I think I remember hearing 2 people say this. And so I hope, that's why it'd be nice to have a therapist on the show. So somebody's observing and somebody can pull him aside and, hey, Paul, you appear to be guarded. But in this experience, in order to, to attract who is for you, they have to have a sense of you. And if they don't have a sense of you, the person who could be for you won't really know who you are. And they either just kind of stay away or just kind of look, because they're waiting to see who you are. Because as a viewer, of course, I've got clips. I don't have a sense of who he is yet. He really could be an amazing person who likes to crack jokes, but I don't know who that person is yet because, I haven't seen that person yet. Maybe the clips haven't been shown. They're going to show up, trying to build it up. Or maybe he hasn't opened up yet. But anyway, I digress. So Joy is not so impressed, but she's playing the game right. She's polite. She's, respectful. She keeps the banter up. On the other end, we have Sabrina, Tiff, and Cornelius. And so Sabrina, Sabrina was, I think she was somewhere else first. Or maybe they were just talking. But anyway, it was.
I'm enough for 2, but eventually I wanted to have a little one-on-one time.
Like, what's the ultimate goal? Do you want to just have a life partner, or do you want a wife? It's really yes or no.
I think they're interchangeable. I mean, some people don't even believe in marriage.
What do you want, though?
I can do either one. We can call it whatever you want.
Well, I want a husband. Let me just go ahead and put that on. Let me go ahead and put that on the ping pong table right now.
Tiffany put the ball down, the paddle down, and that was a little bit of negative energy.
Listen, Tiffany speaking at first. And, you know, they were talking about life partner versus marriage. And so Tiffany says she's not looking for a life partner, she's looking for marriage. I think because this is a speed dating process, that was an appropriate statement. Say what you want. Like, don't start like hiring, like, for someone like myself, okay, yeah, been married before I have kids. I don't have to, the lines are less defined for me. But for someone like her who likely wants to have children, stand your case. Like, because I think marriage is definitely important when you have children for so many reasons. So I get why she was very clear. She's like, nah, I'm not looking for a life partner. I'm looking for a husband. I want to be married. I think that was, there's nothing wrong with what she said. Of course, you know, Cornelius, because he disagreed with her, either because I know he's in therapy, either, you know, it's like, does he even have kids? We don't know that yet. I don't know if he does. I don't think he does. I don't remember. But, you know, with Cornelius, just because he doesn't share that view immediately, he made an interpretation that was a negative interaction. And I disagree with that. Like, the lady said how she felt. Now, you know, he said that she slammed the, you know, the racket down and the ball down. I didn't quite see that. I thought I saw her place it down. But of course, these are all clips, the snips, everything snipped and put together. Maybe she did that, maybe she didn't. But I didn't get that energy from her. She was just very like, hey, that's not for me. Marriage is it. It's a simple, I don't think I had a problem with that interaction. And I guess that's what happens too. Like, based on hearsay, you know, he's running back to the guys to say like, da. But from what I looked at, I don't think that was a negative interaction. She wasn't impressed. She just said, he's not where I am. And it's true. It's like, why, when you're talking about a speed dating process, why waste time? You know, I think you have to be clear. This is where I am. You don't sit down and like someone talk about, yeah, he's not really about, you know, marriage, but he's definitely looking for a life partner. Like, you know, you want to, my opinion, if you want to give your kids your last name and give your kids security, life partner not working. It's not working. That's not working, yo. Like, you want to give that stability, family unit. I feel it works better when you're talking about a marriage vows. Regardless of what we talk about, the percentages of, you know, some people have numbers where that's 50% of marriages end divorce. Then what about the other 50 then? There's another 50 that don't. And true, some of those 50 that don't, some of them are living, you know, in bondage. They're doing a life bid. But still out of those, there's some that, you know, they're making it work. It's hard work. Just because it's hard work doesn't mean you run away from it. But I digress. So, you know, we've got Cornelius and Tiffany. They're not feeling each other clearly. So we have another group date. You know, in the beginning, they always have these group dates. You know, sometimes you get something to see. Sometimes you can read. This particular group date gave me some insight. So let's go. So we get, we have Clifton, we have, what's his name, Tori, then we have Carmen, Joy, and Ace. Once again, we have 2 guys and 3 women. I don't know, like, producers are trying to feel cute with themselves. I thought this would be a great idea, but let's see how, you know. So something I noticed, so it's like, almost like a virtual kind of, you know, putt, like a mini golf, something, yeah, it's not like a top golf, but it's not actually in a golf course. It's inside a room and they're using, it's almost like, what was that Nintendo thing we used to do? The Wii. It was almost like a Wii version of, but you going out to go play the Wii for tennis, something like that, like, but they're using pretend stuff. Anyway, so they're there, they're playing, you know, golf. And initially my impression of Carmen with Laverne had been like nice, but here she seems a little standoffish, to put it politely. It seems she immediately dismisses, you know, Tory because of his locks. Okay, it's true, like if you have a preference, you have a preference. I'm not even judging that, but just the way she was, like when Clifton was holding, you know, the golf clubs. No, that's the wrong one. You've got the putter, or you've got the this, and sis, you could just held on mute. Like you don't. I'm not saying hold yourself or hide yourself, but you don't always have to always push out to let everybody know that you're a golfer. No, if you ask, then answer. And he did ask, but it just seemed very clumsy and awkward. But they still made an effort to figure each other out. But I think this is the point where, you know, Clifton, you know, he said packet looked nice, and then all of a sudden he saw blue. Like he was thrown off by that blue too, because colored contacts been out. But I don't know. maybe I'm behind 2022, but they recorded this in 2021. But anyway, so the call to contacts threw Clifton off too, I think. But anyway, they're still polite and they just, kind of played. And then there was a point where Ace, so then it was Clifton and Carmen who were kind of having an exchange. And then Joy and Tori went off and they were playing some kind of, the table soccer or whatever y'all call it. I don't know. But they were playing and talking and cracking jokes.
She kind of walks off. So I just want to go check on her, make sure she's okay. You doing all right? You okay?
I am.
You sure?
I am.
I felt a little tension, so I was like, you know what? Let me check in to make sure you're okay.
You're so sweet. No,
Seriously.
I just didn't want to impose on you guys.
Impose?
I saw I love when I see good connections and stuff going on.
You could never
You
impose.
should flow with that.
Never impose.
Clifton, he's such a sweetheart. I guess he saw that I had peeled away. And I think that's one of the things where people feel like if you're not in the mix, something's wrong. Sometimes I'm just cool with just, being me.
I think in this, we're all supportive of each other in this journey, and you guys will always have my support.
Absolutely.
And finding love.
Instead of, doing what others have done in the past where, you'll go, oh, can I interrupt? She just went to the bar, got herself a drink and was just chilling. And I was like, I liked it. That's probably something I would have done. Like, what I'm not going to do is interrupt. Like, if you want to talk to me, then you come talk to me. I don't have to go chase you. But anyway, in the midst of that, shortly after that, Clifton, I'm telling you, he's coming to the top of the leaderboard. He notices that, excuses himself from Carmen and walks up to Ace and says, hey, you're by yourself. Like, he noticed that she was by herself. I want to make sure you're okay. She's like, oh, no. Like, and something that, it's the way she put it, like, I'm in support of all of you guys making great connections. Man, this chick, like, she all of a sudden, I didn't know what to make of her last week, but this week I'm really liking who I see Ace to be. Like, I'm really in support of you guys making connections, and I didn't want to interrupt. I'm okay by oh my goodness, Ace, girl, I like you. Like, I think you almost seem to be like the Libba of last season. It's just real, just solid, kind. Like, I'm just wish I'm supportive of you guys making solid connections. I'm like, oh, you know what, Ace, I'm with you, sis. I think what this really tells us here is that even in spite of the sense of competition, in spite of the intimidation of the camera, in spite of everything else, that it really pays to be yourself. That when there is everything is kind of stirring around you, just stop, sit, and just take a second. I think that for me, that shows maturity. Like, she's not going to feel the pressure. She's not going to crumble under the pressure. She's not going to do and be who she's not. Because I've said in the past that I think one of the biggest things here is you may come off this show not necessarily coming out with a love interest. But what you want to know for sure is that you represented yourself as who you recognize yourself to be. I think anyone who's been on the show, and what I've observed is that they only regret when they have behaved in a manner that they don't recognize as themselves. And right now it really looks like Ace is just being her. She's cognizant of who she is and is just trying to do that. I love that energy, and it'll be great to see as it evolves. And I hope it just continues to flow. Like, this is really who she is. And dare I say, the yoga and the meditation are playing a big part in her just being okay with who she is. So, Men's Lounge. Dun, 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 dun. The guys give their recap. I don't even need to recap what the recap is because I already recapped it for you. So we talk about the top. I think for tops, people are still mentioning Joy, Sabrina, and unfortunately at the bottom, Tiffany come up at the bottom, as well as, actually they kind of mixed it up. So they kind of, for some people, Joy was at the top, for some people not so much, and then others, they had Tiffany and Carmen at the bottom. But anyway, we're going to the elimination date. And who do we have? 2 elimination dates. We have Tiffany and Ace. Like, yo, how you put my sister in the bottom 2? You're wrong for that, but that's okay. Let's keep this train moving. So Paul meets up with Tiffany, and then Wiley meets up with Ace. And Paul is talking to Tiffany, and Tiffany is still, and it appears that Tiffany, during the date, she seems curt and very quick, and she's shutting Paul down without giving him a chance. I think particularly when you don't know someone, give them room, give them space. Don't be so quick to jump on them. Give them an opportunity to land. but he's asking questions, and she's already trying to like, oh, you asked too many questions. So, you know, I know it's still edited, so we don't see how it progressed, but it seems almost like, you know, Paul was getting tired, and he was explaining to us, like, I like to ask questions because I really don't want to just do surface stuff and do fluff. And she says, well, I do surface stuff, I do fluff. And I don't know about that. Like, if you're doing speed dating, like, you know, dealing with fluff, like, if you're just dealing with fluff, then how do I get to know you? Yeah. Anyway, I guess he like, this is not going anywhere. So it's like, look, me and the guys met, time to go home, blah, blah. You're it. And she's like, WTF, what the blah, blah, bleep, bleep, bleep. Long and short, like, she did not have a graceful exit. She didn't. Like, she said something and she was walking away. She was talking about jealous. Like, who? Jealous of what? Like, like, I don't want to tell y'all, but her exit was less than savory. Really, it didn't really leave a good taste in my mouth. So it almost justifies the, you know, Cornelius' experience of her, but I still think he was wrong just because he didn't agree with her. Like, he had a certain opinion of her, but that almost, she now giving him like, he feel like he right, like he got it all figured out, that she was the wrong one. But yeah, so she didn't. And then of course we leave Paul. That I'm still waiting to see who Paul is. You know, is he, you know, the kind of person, his intelligence, emotional intelligence as well. Like, where is he? And I'm hoping he's able to open up before he gets in trouble. Like, before they put him on a chopping board. I hope we have an opportunity to see who Paul really is. Because it does seem, the process to him, he appears to be outgoing, but he's not. Like, you know how they say comedians, they're I won't say the deepest, but they're sometimes the ones who have the most sadness. Although they cause joy and happiness to other people, comedians are known to have a dark side. Like Paul, he comes out, but there's something else. And that's why he's covering it. So it's like, I really would like us to open and peel and see who Paul is. Because there's something there, there's a story there. And I hope we get an opportunity to meet him. Because he might just end up being a really lovable, amazing human being. But I just haven't met him yet. We've got his representative. There's a camera rolling, it's difficult, I get it. But Paul, I hope we get to meet you, sure. Going on to Wiley and Ace's date, you know. Ace is still soft, like, I don't know, I didn't see it and that's the whole point of spending some time. That's why you don't rush into things. You have to do things one at a time. First episode, I didn't get a sense of Ace, but this episode, or maybe this is just how they've put the clips together. Ace is really, I'm enjoying who she is. And, you know, she and Wiley have like a nice flow. Wiley seems now intrigued by her. Anyway, he tells her the guys want her to stay. And so there we have it. We now, you know, Tiffany gone home. You all remember last week, it was Tiffany and Keena were the ones in dark dresses. Is it a coincidence? They're both wearing dark outfits and they both get gone. Like, so my question, like, I'm just wondering, I don't know if you all are wondering, is do they already have like somewhat pre-decided finalists? I don't know. Like, how does it work? How do they work it out? Like, I don't know. Let's see how this goes. Because so here they are. So guys, appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Lola, over and out.